Native Americans did not worship the tree. It was what the tree stood for. The same way we don't worship the menorah. We don't worship the statue of Jesus. We don't worship the icon. It's what it stands for. It's a symbol. And to them, this is their symbol. And you might say, well, you know, Indians don't worship ancient Native American religion anymore. Well, neither do Greek people worship ancient Greek gods anymore. But if you go to the Holy Trinity Church, they have columns out there of the Temple of Delphi in Greece. They're not worshiping Apollo, but it's their culture. This is Native American culture. This is part of their culture. This was part of their ancient religion. And people say, well, there's no more Indians anymore. Where are the Indians? They're all gone. No, there's still Indians. There's Indians all over the place. Some of them are full-blooded, many of them are mixed. I have my own first cousins, they're all part Micmac. I have second cousins, a part Indian, part Peruvian. Many of my friends, part French-Canadian, have Indian blood in them. There's many, many Native American people still in Lowell and in the greater area and all over the United States and up and down the Western Hemisphere of North and South America. Many tribes, many nations, many languages, at least 500. These people are proud. They have a proud tradition. This is part of their culture. This is part of their tradition. Why is it any less worthy of respect? Just like all these other traditions and cultures in Lowell. Lowell is a great melting pot. It's a great cornucopia of multiculturalism. And this is one part of it. This is one fabric of our great tapestry of the city of Lowell, the diversity of the beauty of the city of Lowell. And this was the first Americans, the Native Americans, the Wamasett Indians, an Algonquin-speaking tribe that were part of the Merrimack, part of the Abenaki, Wabanaki Greater Nation. This is not right. We need to show respect. We need to show respect. So, the other thing I wanted to say was, here on Clark Road, at one time, like I said before, this was an old gravel dirt bridle path. And the road was more on this side. The road was over here where I'm standing, and the tree was in the middle of the road. Before those walls were built and everything, this tree was in the middle of the road. And in 1909, Mr. Albert O'Hare, God bless his heart, here he is right here, Mr. Albert E. O'Hare. In 1909, Mr. Albert O'Hare, when Middlesex County, we're going to widen and straighten Clark Road. Mr. O'Hare said he owned land on both sides of the street. Here's the street, Albert O'Hare. Albert O'Hare, here's the tree, here's the right-of-way. Here's where Clark Road used to be. This straight line is where Clark Road used to be. The tree was in the road. And this dotted line is where it is now. Mr. Albert O'Hare, who owned that house, he said, please don't cut down the tree. I will give up some of my land across the street from the tree. I will give up my land over there so you can move the road that way. Move the road over this way. So not to cut the tree down. He saved the tree. Mr. O'Hare gave up over 9,463 square feet of his land, especially on that side. Because he owned land on both sides of Clark Road. This was all his land, Mr. O'Hare, up to this mailbox over here. This was owned by Bartlett and Hood, and then the city got it. But this land from the mailbox that way and all across the street was Mr. O'Hare's land. This man saved the tree. He died in 1929. Around Memorial Day, 1930, 1931, when they put up that sign, there was never any mention of Mr. O'Hare. Mr. O'Hare said, in order that the tree might stand, please move the street that way, and I will give up my land. Mr. O'Hare gave up his land for 1 penny. He didn't charge the city damages at all. For 1 penny. Think about how much 9,463 square feet of land would be worth in 2012 dollars, even after the recession. That's a lot of land worth a lot of money, and he didn't charge the city damages. No one has ever acknowledged Mr. O'Hare for his sacrifice of his land to save this historic tree, and I know he loved the tree. And we have the blessings of the O'Hare family and Kathy Van Greenby, who lives over there on the other side of that house. She is Mr. O'Hare's granddaughter. No one has ever honored this man, and we think it's about time that this dignified and distinguished looking gentleman who was born in Canada into an Irish Catholic family, moved to Lowell, had a furniture business, moved from Merrimack Street up here, bought the old Hunt house, bought acres and acres of land on both sides of Clark Road. This is where he raised his family. This is where he lived. He loved this tree. He loved his neighborhood. He loved his community. He served his city well. And we feel that we should finally honor Mr. O'Hare, because if it were not for him, this tree would never have been saved. This is why we are calling Mr. Albert E. O'Hare the original protector. This map is called M54. This is the M54 map. This map goes back to 1910, September. And this clearly shows that all this land here, which was city property, is still city property. It has never been relinquished by the city of Lowell. This is how much land is behind this tree, but when the survey is done, we'll know exactly. This tree is on public land, in the city sidewalk, abutting the right-of-way. It's all public property, even though it looks like private property, and nobody knows it. And this is why we need a memorial plaque here, and this is why we need something to honor the Wamesett Indians and Mr. O'Hare. So basically, we're asking you, please, when it comes time to take your final vote at Lowell City Hall, please vote yes to create a protective deed to protect the Pow Wow Oak forever. Please vote yes to allow the Pow Wow Oak protectors at their own expense. The city doesn't have to pay a dime. So we can put a little monument. It's just going to be a small little thing. It's not going to be a sign. It's going to be a plaque like the Portuguese people have down at Back Central Street on a gravel, a granite slab and a nice marble post, an aluminum plaque, and it'll talk about the tree and how old it is, and it's a national historic tree and on public land, and the Wamesett Indians and Mr. O'Hare. It'll be very nice. So that one day, hundreds of years from now hopefully, when people are walking down Clark Road and they stop and they see the heart in the tree, if you go back you can see the tree forms a heart as Rita survived from the Lowell sunset, and they see the heart and they stop and they read the plaque and they read the sign. Hopefully, hundreds of years from now, people will know and will be able to say, when they look upon this beautiful tree and this beautiful land, La Bella Videre, that it will always be something beautiful to behold into perpetuity. So we thank you very much for your time. We hope you enjoyed our presentation, and we're asking you, please, call the Lowell City Council, call the mayor, say, I care about the tree, I care about the land, I care about the history of the Indians, and honoring Mr. O'Hare. Ask them to please say that you support a protective deed, say that you support a memorial plaque, so that this never happens again. They never cut branches off this beautiful tree, which has endured many a snowstorm and many a blizzard, and it's still standing. It looks like a tree from the Wizard